Name is Alex Mondosian. I may be a complete stranger to you, but in 2002, something that I had a lot to do with is called the virtual book tour. I invented it, and that's so you don't have to meet our author today in different bookstores and inconvenience yourself. You just have to watch her for 45 minutes today, and this is the virtual book tour for the Mineral Reset. I'm Alex Mondosian. I happen to be in Pasadena, California. We will get to Caroline in just a little bit, but right now, I want to get some engagement in the chat, and please honor me and honor her and write in the city and the location you're from. So what city are you zooming in from right now? Type that into the chat. This will be what's called an evergreen recording. And so none of this right now will be on the recording in post-production. I'm just doing this to get your fingers ready to order not one, not two, but three books. And yes, I'm the sales guy here, so just bear with me, okay? I will not make it too over the top for you, but I will tell you why it's important that three books in this particular case is very, very important. I'm seeing Florida, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, London, Scottsdale, Arizona. That's where I was for 6 years. Boston, where they drive cars. Royal Oak, Michigan. Lewiston, Idaho, Green Bay. By the way, my jokes don't get any better, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm not the sage from the stage here. I'm the guide from the side. And we have Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Kansas City, Green Bay. My gosh, we got a lot of people from the Midwest. We have Los Angeles. I'm in Pasadena. I'm not far away. New York City. Used to live there on the Upper East Side. Louisville, and Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, why do we do this in the very beginning? Again, this won't be in the final recording. You will get the final recording. But if you decide to look through the lens of an author and you decide to do a virtual book tour with someone else interviewing you, then this is a great way to get people warmed up and going into the chat before you begin. So I like to come on about 2 to 3 minutes before and do this. And then you're going to hear a countdown, and that's going to be for post-production. So you get to see behind the curtain, a very transparent way, the way we begin with this. This is a very important virtual book tour. Your time is valuable to you. It's valuable to us. Our time is valuable as well. And so you'll know you're in the right place based on what I'm about to share with you in the next 3 minutes. I will bring on Caroline, who is the author, in a few moments. But for now, I'm going to do a quick countdown. And if you're ready, type in ready in the chat. And come on, just amuse me. Type it in there. Let me see it. Thank you. I don't want to be too woo-woo because I'm not, but this is the way we get started. And this is what you can do as an author. So look through the lens as not only someone who may be minerally depleted, but also someone who is an author on your own topic of influence, or you have a book in your heart. This is how to run a virtual book tour so you don't have to get adrenal fatigue, which Caroline had in the early years. And in starting Beam Minerals with her co-founding partner, Dan, things change. And hopefully that story will be meaningful to you later on. All right, so here we go. 3, 2, 1. Well, you made it, and welcome to the Mineral Reset virtual book tour. I have a happy face there because, believe it or not, minerals are micronutrients. You think of macronutrients like carbs, fats, proteins, but nutrients are the building blocks, and minerals are a big part of that. And we have a depleted soil over the past 50 years. And we will talk about that as we move through this Mineral Reset virtual book tour. It is co-hosted by Hay House and by beamminerals.com, BEAM minerals.com. Now, my name is Alex Mondosian. I may be a complete stranger to you. But I'm here because I invented the virtual book tour in 2002. We did teleseminars back then. We didn't have any social media. And so Caroline thought this would be a great way to leverage her time because she gets a lot of podcast invitations and speaking gigs. And so today you have an opportunity to have the author from her own words and heart not only talk about the book, but explain the book, what it is, why it's important and relevant to you, how you can get the most out of it, and what could happen if you follow some of the lessons and strategies inside. So let's start with what is a VBT or a virtual book tour? Well, if you've ever been to a bookstore, sometimes an author goes there and signs books, and that's called a book signing. But they have to go from bookstore to bookstore to bookstore, and they just sell a few books. We already have a bestseller on Amazon, and we hope to continue with our pre-sales. But this is a virtual book tour where we're in one location, Caroline is another location. Wherever you're watching, now you may not be watching live. In fact, um, the 10 times the number of people will watch the replay than live. But the whole point is to make this a bonus so you can see the author's perspective and point of view of why she wrote the book, what was the original story behind the idea of writing the book, why it's relevant to you, going into specific chapters so that you dive into the book. Most books aren't read past page 20. It's sad, but that's what happens. So the next question, now that you know the virtual book tours, it's just a very convenient way for the author to explain the book, is why is this virtual book tour, that's VBT, why is it relevant to your life? Well, we talk about micronutrients and specifically minerals. And because the soil these days are minerally depleted, an apple today is 1/5 the micronutrient value as 50 years ago. I'm 62, so I guess I remember those days, but the soil is depleted, so you need mineral supplements to add to your nutrition. Now, a macronutrient, an apple has the same number of carbohydrates, right? It has the same simple sugar value, but it doesn't have the same number of minerals inside. So that's something that is not controversial. It is tested. The data backs it, and Caroline will talk about it later today. How can you get the most out of this virtual book tour? Well, I recommend you take notes the old-fashioned way with a pen. Remember, I'm 62, so I don't like typing because that's kind of not as meaningful to me. I like to write on the page. So please feel free to do that. Please write notes if you have an aha moment in the chat. Now, if you're watching the replay, you can do the same thing. We want to note what your aha moment is. It's kind of like a pack my bag moment. I could pack my bag right now and I could leave, but we don't want you to do that because my goal is not to have you get one of these books, not two, and not three. Well, actually, three. You can get more. There's a bundled group if you have a company that you'd like to get these books out to. And if you buy enough, Caroline will come and speak for free as a keynote. But I'd like you to get three, one for yourself, one for a loved one, and one who has lost hope about their health. Very few people know about micronutritional value. They don't know about nutritional density in food. And so today we're going to uncover all of that. So hopefully within 45 minutes, you'll get the full story. What could possibly happen if you follow our lead in this virtual book tour? You'll feel better. Brain fog will go away. Maybe not within 30 days, but maybe 60. You won't hit that 2 p.m. wall and crash with low energy. You won't wake up lethargic. If you have adrenal fatigue right now, you know it probably. Sometimes even overwhelm will go away. Overwhelm is mental. It's not having too many things to do. It's not knowing what to do next because of brain fog. So there are many benefits of watching today. I hope you take it very seriously. And then we'll talk about micronutrients versus macronutrients. We'll talk about that, why that's so important. Most of the world in health and wellness talks about macronutrients. But again, it's like when you were born and your father released you and your mother received you, whether you got along with them or not growing up, okay, that is the micro version of yourself, right? You were a swimmer and you won. You won the ovarian lottery. And then you came out 10,000 times bigger about 40 weeks. And hopefully you weren't born breech and you came out head first like I did. And my mom said she was nauseous for 9 months. I don't know if I believe her, but I wasn't there. I was on the inside. Micronutrients is the same way. It's before you were born. So we'll also cover why Beam Minerals will help you despite 50 years of soil depletion. This is not an advertisement for beamminerals.com. It is a influential and hopefully persuasive argument and debate over why micronutrients is something that you possibly have ignored. And then here's my ethical bribe is stay until the 40-minute mark, between 40 and 45 minutes, and then you'll get a very special link in the chat for a customized free gift about your mineral outlook. And that's a quiz that you can take. All right. So Let's begin. Let me bring on Caroline right now, and let's bring Caroline in. Where are you zooming in from, Caroline? You look great.
Hello. I'm coming in from Grand Junction, Colorado, the western slope of the Rockies. It's a
Okay,
beautiful day here.
I'm not far away actually, but the first question is very simple, the origin story. What specific incident inspired you, the original idea to write this book? It's all yours.
Yeah, what happened for me is that I was in really ill health many years ago, and just from taking plant-based humic and fulvic mineral complexes, many symptoms, and we can go into that, completely resolved. And as a result, I ended up doing a whole bunch of research. And as I started researching, and I literally knew nothing. I mean, I was a complete ignoramus. I was like most of us with our cars, we take them to the mechanic when something's broken. That's kind of how I was with my body. And I went to a lot of doctors trying to heal myself. But as I got replenished with minerals, I started feeling incredibly well. And then doing this research, I started having these incredible aha moments. And as I had these aha moments, I was like, why has not any practitioner that I've spoken to ever mentioned mineral depletion or deficiency as something that I should look at for my health? And that was really the inception of the moment where I realized this information, we have to bring it to the world. And that was about 4 years ago when I really had the inspiration that I have to bring this to the world via a book.
You're a first-time author. Hay House, I thought, gave you a very generous deal. And so, why do you think they have so much confidence in this book? Because it's a brand new launch at the time of this recording.
Yeah, and I'm a new author. I think there's a couple things. A lot of times, people who are writing about something that's very complex, like mineral replenishment, mineral deficiency, they're writing for a practitioner audience, and they are writing something very technical. And frankly, those things are very hard to read. It's very hard to access that information. But my work for the last 10 years has been not only learning about mineral depletion and learning about mineral replenishment, but also learning how to talk to people about it in very simple words. Because my idea is I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to make everybody else smart. And so I believe there are no stupid questions. I've asked a lot of them. And my job is to really take all that technical jargon and translate it into really easy, accessible learnings for people that completely change their understanding of how their body works and how they can support it in a very simple way.
Our first survey question. So, as you're watching, the survey is going to pop up right now, and I want you to answer to the best of your ability. It's a simple yes or no. Are you ready to discover the one thing that's been missing from your health journey? And is that a leading question? Yes, it is. Why? Because that's what we want to do. So click yes or no. If you click no, I'm wondering what you're doing here.
Well,
So,
even then you might learn something.
yeah, I mean, you know what? I found that from a detractor or someone who says no, it's a lot easier to convince them to become a promoter of the concept than having someone who's just passive and like unleavened bread and just has no yeast. So go ahead and take your vote. We'll take about 5 more seconds. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's show the results for everyone. And the results are we have a hundred
Everyone's ready.
percent. Now, first of all, I don't think I've ever asked a question like that. Secondly, I've never gotten 100%. All right. So let's talk about your audience. Caroline, back to you, and I will disappear from the spotlight. But you have many audiences. You have the civilians, like many people are here. You have some civilians who want to learn about mineral depletion and also are uh, potential authors or current authors. And they may learn from this virtual book tour, approach. But then you have practitioners. That is a big part. And so focus on the different types of readers who are ideal for this book, and don't leave anyone
Mhm.
out, kids included. And then what is the ultimate promise and the results and the outcome people can expect from the book?
Yeah. Well, the first audience is somebody who has multiple chronic health symptoms. Maybe they're low level, maybe some are moving towards acute or are acute. And frankly, that's pretty much everybody. So it's a very broad audience. I, of course, am a woman who's in menopause. So, you know, people, women in this 45 to 65, they certainly relate to me because I have had many of the experiences of women, and actually even younger women who are experiencing infertility. I had that, or experiencing menstrual problems, on and on throughout a woman's life cycle. I also, another audience is performance, people who are into high performance. So, athletes, semi-pro and pro athletes are experiencing lots of depletion, dehydration, cramping, symptoms of mineral deficiency. So the book is actually really helpful to create a new paradigm, like a real paradigm shift in how you think about those chronic issues that you're experiencing as a high performer. It's also the other audience is people who are really interested in aging well, so longevity. You would not believe how important mineral replenishment is to keeping your lifestyle and your thriving life, everything from your sexual interest to your skin to beauty to muscle mass. All of these things rely on minerals in your body. And who knew? Because nobody's talking about it, right? The other audience is practitioners, because one of the challenges practitioners have is many practitioners know that they need to get minerals into their patients, that is a critical piece, but they don't know how to do it easily. And frankly, it's really hard to get one of your patients to take 10 or 12 or a handful of pills every day. So if you send people down to the health food store and you say, buy, 8 bottles of pills, guess where those end up? In the supplement graveyard. So, and they go back to you and they're like, why did I spend all that money? I'm not going to do that. So you want to be able to give them a simple solution that's not only going to support them with mineral replenishment, but it's also going to make you look incredibly good, because they're going to start feeling better and all your other protocols are going to be well supported and work better in their body. So there's a actually another audience. Let's talk about kids. So mineral deficiency is really hitting a critical level with kids. And you have to understand that when a body is growing like it is with young people, it has a much higher requirement for minerals. Why? Because all of the structure in the universe is minerals. All of the structure in your body is minerals. Now, when you're growing that child inside of your body, they're taking the mineral, that fetus is taking the minerals from your body. But once they're out and they're eating food, they also are experiencing the issue of micronutrient deficiency, or nutrient density issues in our food. So they need to supplement. In fact, there's a huge rise in sports injuries and ADHD and cognitive issues with children. And I'm saying that a lot of that is because of a chronic mineral deficiency. In fact, there's a term for it that the World Health Organization coined, and it's called the hidden hunger. And, isn't that what many of us are feeling? Like there's, just something missing, that has you open the fridge after eating a whole dinner, or reach for the candy or the sweet thing in the afternoon, or the salty, crunchy snack. Because what does a hungry cell crave? It craves sugar and salt. That's really, it's a very broad audience. And what I love to do is kind of hone a conversation for a specific audience. So if you have an audience out there that is, maybe interested in hormones, or they're interested in longevity, or they're interested in their mothers with kids, I can come to your audience and I can talk specifically to the issues, the chronic issues that your audience deals with, or your group.
Well, it's always in the subtitle of the book. That's the promise, right? For you authors out there. the noun or the title of the book, The Mineral Reset, but the subtitle is the verb of the book. And Hay House, your publisher, knows that quite well with all the best-selling authors that they've had over the years, and they
Yeah.
certainly have put a lot of confidence in you. What would you say for the reader, no matter what age, whether they're business to business or business to consumer, or in some cases, business to patient? Many doctors can give this to their patients at no cost if they bought a bundle. What would you say is the result that they can expect as they read page by page?
The first thing that happens when people read the Mineral Reset is they have a paradigm shift. And the shift is that we've been taught to think of our body as parts and pieces and tissues and structure like bones, and then hormonal systems and adrenals and thyroid and neurotransmitters and cognition. And usually the way we've been taught is if you have a problem with your kidney, you go to a kidney doctor. If you have a problem with your heart, you go to a heart doctor, on and on and on. And believe me, I have been to all of them. So, and all of the ones who are outside of the regular conventional medicine as well. But here's the thing that I learned when I was going down the rabbit hole and doing my research is that our body is not like a vehicle. So most of us are walking around in bodies that we don't actually know how they're fueled. So it's like if you went to the gas station with your car and you filled up a cup of gasoline and you put it in your cup holder, it wouldn't do anything for your car. But most of us are doing that because we don't understand actually how our body is fueled. So there's a paradigm shift, which is recognizing that your body is actually a natural ecosystem. It's not a mechanical vehicle with tanks that you can fill up, this much magnesium, this much potassium, this much sodium, etc. It actually doesn't work like that. And in fact, it doesn't thrive when you try to operate and interact with it in that way. So that's the first shift, is a shift from thinking of your body like a mechanical vehicle to recognizing it's a natural cellular ecosystem. And cellular ecosystems like small incremental changes continually over time. They like gentle changes. They don't like big changes. So that's the first shift. And then the next shift is understanding what actually fuels your cellular ecosystem, which is minerals and amino acids. So it's a whole paradigm shift, and it's really exciting because when people learn about it, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that actually makes sense." Like all of the gobbledygook that you hear and you read about, I don't know, salt-based electrolytes as an example, and it doesn't really make sense, but you go, "Okay, they're smart. They know what they're talking about. I'll follow them." But when you read the Mineral Reset, you're going to go, "Oh, actually, I totally understand what they're talking about because I've seen it in my garden, or I've seen it with my house plant, or I've seen it when I'm cooking." I mean, there are just simple principles that completely make sense.
Can you overdose on minerals?
You absolutely can overdose on single, what I call megadose minerals. So when you take a pill of calcium or magnesium or potassium or any mineral, I mean, zinc is a good example because during the pandemic, lots of people took zinc because we heard that it upregulated the immune system. And it does, but it's actually a heavy metal. So you don't want to have toxic concentrations of zinc in your body. So you shouldn't just take a huge amount of zinc. And zinc also is balanced with other minerals. It's really important to recognize, and this is another thing that the Mineral Reset teaches you, is that minerals work together in balance. They are not meant to be used in single concentrated amounts. And that's when you can overdose with what we call trace minerals or plant-based humic and fulvic minerals. There's very little possibility of overdosing.
Or the TOC of the book, and how to consume the book, because many people don't like to start at page one. But before I do, I just want everyone to know, as a civilian, not as a scientist, not as a doctor, but as an athlete most of my life, age 62, I know, which many doctors don't actually, not poo-pooing them, but every cell in your body, you have 37 trillion cells, so I'm told, right? Those are more stars in the universe that have been found. There's 37 trillion cells, and you start losing them with age. Now, each cell has two cells in them. There's the master cell, and then you have one cell inside with DNA and RNA. DNA and RNA, that's your genetic code. And then the other one is called mitochondria. And that's a fancy word, but it's your, let's call it the energy generator of your body. Over the years, and correct me if I'm off, Caroline, but we lose mitochondria. And by the time my age, I've lost 60% of it. And the only way to maintain it is to develop micronutrients that are going in the system outside of the soil since it's depleted, at least here in the US. And that requires supplements, and beamminerals.com are those supplements. You have a few in back of you. They're nutraceuticals. They're in pill form as well. I want you to show them just so everyone sees it. But again, it's not a commercial for Beam. It is a commercial and an ethical
Yeah,
influence. Um, I think projection to get you to think about supplementing foods. And the kids are not too young to take these supplements. So imagine if you can build, I mean, kids are carbivores. They're not carnivores. Most of them are carnivores. They love the carbohydrates with the cereals and all that, Captain Crunch and, Count Chocula or whatever cereals are around these days. And of course, the breads and the cereals and all this stuff. And let's not forget about all the, sweet drinks. And that's macro. Those are carbs, those are sugars and everything else. But the micro can offset some of the damage that the kids are doing. And that's why we have a fattening of America too. It's just too much focus on macro versus micronutrients. So I
yeah,
wanted to just slip that in.
sure.
Any final comments on what I just said? And then let's talk about the table of contents. How do we consume the book before you reveal it on the camera?
Yeah, well, the main thing people need to understand about mitochondria is they really are, I call them actually, they're like a campfire. So inside your cells, you've got all these little campfires. And what fuels a campfire? You need wood, heavy fuel that you're going to light, and then you need some tinder that's easy to light, and you need a match. And the mitochondria is the match. It's the thing that allows your body to turn that fuel into energy, but you have to have the fuel. And that heavy fuel is minerals. The tinder that's easy to light is, I call that the amino acids, because your body has a lot of amino acids, but all the minerals have to come from the outside. The thing I want people to understand is specifically if you're experiencing brain fog, inside one single neuron in your brain, you have upwards of 2 million mitochondria in one single neuron. So the amount of energy that's being generated via these tiny campfires throughout your body, it's if you are fully fueled, you can generate about 1,200 watts of electricity. But what's happening in most people, because they don't have the fuel, is they're maybe generating half of that, like 600 watts. And then your body says, well, I can't do everything. I'm going to, your hair, let's let go of hair. That's not important. And your nails, that's not important. And your skin, well, maybe it's going to be dull. Maybe that inflammation in your gut, we're not going to be able to totally remove it. We're going to just, leave it at a low level. And, that inflammation in your mouth or, that wound that you're trying to heal, it's going to take twice as long to heal because your body literally can't generate enough energy. So you're going to learn a whole bunch of things that are going to make sense, and it's going to literally make it so easy for you to make a shift in your entire system. All those chronic symptoms are going to be like boats off the sand when the tide comes in. They're all going to be raised up simultaneously.
Of unseen hunger. Dive into that and give us some before and after scenarios.
Yeah. So again, most of us are dealing with these chronic symptoms. And again, the World Health Organization calls it the hidden hunger. And, when I was so sick and had so many symptoms and going to so many different doctors, I had no idea that mineral deficiency could have such a far-reaching effect across all sorts of different systems in my body. once I learned how the energy system works in the body and also how minerals, what happens when minerals come into the body and how they get into the body, it was completely mind-blowing to me because it's really, in one way, it's very complex because, a mineral has to come in through your mouth and get broken down and digested, and then has to be absorbed through the lining of your gut into your bloodstream, and then it has to get assimilated into your cells. And that's where your mitochondria, those energy generating little campfires, can be lit. But how that happens and how that actually works, if you're using minerals that are made from rocks, shells, and bones, well, it doesn't actually work. And most of it goes straight through your body and ends up in the toilet. So once you begin to understand all these kind of this new structure of how to look at the world, it completely makes sense.
Are and are not. And this goes back to the macro and micronutrient concept. Dive into that a little bit and the difference between the two.
Yeah. You know, when I first started writing this book, one of the things that I did is I went around to people that I knew, and some of them are, very smart people. And I said, "Can you name five minerals?" And I have a little test in the book. I think it's page 27, where you can actually go through and do a little test, test your knowledge. But here's the thing, I mean, there was maybe one person out of all the people I asked who could actually name five minerals. And that's because we all know vitamins, we've all learned about those things, but nobody talks about minerals. So what are minerals? If you remember from your high school science class when you saw the periodic table, and most of us, like, the periodic table came and went, we're like, whatever. Those are all minerals. And in fact, all of those minerals exist in your body. Now, your body doesn't necessarily utilize, or we don't know how your body utilizes all of the minerals in the periodic table. Your body utilizes about 18, depending on who you're talking to. Some people say 22 minerals. And some of those minerals are things that we've heard of. They're what I call the macro minerals, the electrolytes, the things that are in your salt-based stick pack, the magnesium, potassium, calcium, sodium. But there are also other minerals like selenium, chromium, things that you've probably heard of, zinc, that you might take because somebody told you, a doctor or a friend, your mother told you to take because you have some particular symptoms. But there's also a lot of micronutrients that you've probably never heard of, like molybdenum, vanadium. Now, you've heard of copper, but did you know it's actually extremely important for many biosynthesis processes in your body? So there's a whole set of minerals that you need. And here is the most interesting thing about it. You need those minerals to be coming into your body in a set of specific ratio because mineral balance is as important as quantity. So you can't just throw a whole bunch of magnesium into your system and expect your ecosystem to enjoy that. If you think about your body like an ecosystem, working more like a forest than a car, go take a wheelbarrow of magnesium and throw it on the floor of a forest and see what happens to the plants in that area. They won't thrive because they'll go, "Oh my gosh, this is a concentration," and cellular life does not function well in concentrations of very powerful substances like minerals. In fact, you think about, in Yellowstone, there's a lot of sulfur. There's not much plant life where those fumaroles are coming out. That gives you an example of what I'm talking about. I hope
Okay.
that was helpful.
And if it's unclear, just type in the chat and we'll clarify and confirm whatever is not clear. Clarity is power. And we'll go to the second survey if we can pop that up. This is multiple choice. So take a close look at this, whether you're live or you're listening and watching on the recording. The second survey popped up is, which of these five options best describe what brought you here? In other words, here at the virtual book tour, listening to Caroline, getting insights, getting the book, getting three books. Is it fatigue, low energy that doesn't improve with rest? Okay, that was Caroline's issue back in the day. Brain fog, poor focus, mental sluggishness. Is it poor sleep that doesn't restore you in the morning? Is it stubborn inflammation or joint pain, slow recovery? Or just you want to be proactive and you want to understand minerals better. So make your choice. You only get to choose one, the way the survey works. So be decisive. And I'll end the survey in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's see the results. So very, very interesting. So you see the results, Caroline. So go ahead
Yeah,
and
yeah.
repeat those. Go for it.
So most people just want to understand minerals better, and I'm guaranteeing you that this book is going to help you do that. It's going to help you understand not only what minerals are, but why you're deficient and how minerals work in your body and how you're going to get mineral replenished. So, and it's not by going down and buying, 10 bottles of pills and having to take a whole bunch of pills all every day. Um, the next piece is people talking about inflammation or sleep. I didn't really talk in detail about my story, but I think one of the most important things that I think is related to so many people in our world today is sleep. And I was an insomniac all my life. I had a very, very hard time getting to sleep, and I had a hard time staying asleep. And particularly when I hit perimenopause, that just went straight up. And I woke up 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a night, every single night. So I did not ever sleep through the night. And after getting mineral replenished, I sleep through the night almost every night. And that is like an absolute miracle. Now, it didn't happen immediately. This happened over a period of time, like over 8 or 9 months. The symptoms that I was dealing with, inflammation in my gut, even after being gluten-free for like 7 years, I could never get over the elimination problems and the bloating. Then I had inflammation in my mouth. I had really bad bone loss in my teeth after having 2 children and never getting replenished. My body was literally using my teeth for minerals. And I had bad gingivitis or periodontal disease. That's completely gone. And my dentist is like, I wish everybody had a mouth like yours. So that's amazing. I had ongoing sinus infections. I had a mold exposure event that was really affecting my sinuses, but my immune system was not able to gain momentum and actually clear it. I also had flatlined adrenals for over a year, and it took me about 4 months of taking the minerals, and my adrenals went up 1/3 of the chart, and now they're completely healthy. I have Hashimoto's, and I did take thyroid at the time. Also was doing hormone replacement, but wasn't feeling the effects. But now I mean, literally my ecosystem is in balance. It has what it needs, and so my nervous system, this is the thing people don't think about. When your cells don't have what they need, they're sending a signal to your nervous system. And that signal sounds like, we don't have what we need. We don't have what we need. We don't have what we need. Go looking. You better go looking. I don't have what I need. We don't have what we need. And that constant barrage of neurological signaling has you opening the fridge at night, going and looking for something because your body is not fully nourished. So we're overfed and undernourished. But once I had that replenishment happen, cravings went away. I started sleeping through the night. Inflammation got cleared. I stopped getting sick. Like I fly all the time on airplanes and knock on wood, I just don't get sick because my immune system has what it needs to clear those things away.
Well, let's talk about the book. That's why
Yeah.
we're here. Now, not everyone watching live or on the recording has the book. If you do have the book, then you already know about the 2 bonus tickets inside, which is for a book in our series. It's a 5 segment series that Caroline teaches live, and we'll be reteaching it year after year. And it's evergreen. So if you come in too late, you can get the recordings as well as the recording to this virtual book tour. And you can invite a friend because there's 2 tickets and they just need to buy the book as well. So
Yeah.
those are the tickets. And turn them around the other way so they see it.
I don't
Yep. And that comes inside the book. Now, we're going to drop a link inside the chat. And the reason we don't do a QR code is because that may change over the years, but the link will always stay the same. And this is to buy the book direct. You can get the book at barnesandnoble.com. You can get it at Amazon. You can get it at Target. But when you buy the book directly from beamminerals.com, and we'll drop the link so that you see it, you're going to get a very special package. Caroline, I'd like you to be kind of a Vanna White right now and show what they get.
Yes, here we have, no. So our little book in a box, we call it book in a box, and it's going to have what it has in it is some really great stuff. So first of all, it has a gift to you from me, which is a couple of great things, including the tickets that we mentioned, as well as a little bookmark that has a great discount code if you want to use that, and a personal note from me that helps you understand the book. It also has something called what we call the 7 common side effects of reading the Mineral Reset. So let's say you read the book and you're trying to get your mother-in-law to, be interested in minerals, but it's a big conversation. Instead, you just give her the 7 common side effects, and she looks through it. You can see that it's really easy to read. It's kind of like the thing you'd find in your doctor's office that you can read while you're waiting. And it's got great information, and it goes through the side effects with the main points of the book in a really easily accessible way. And then, of course, you get the book, which I'll show you. There it is.
And then please show the outer box because beamminerals.com has gone the extra mile, and there's a sticker on the outside. And
See?
even the mail carrier can QR code that and see a personal message from Caroline, which is about 2 to 3 minutes on video. And it's what to expect that's inside. So this is an explanation of the book, and that's what to expect when you get it. Now, I recommend you get 1 or 2, get 3, 1 for yourself. It is affordable. 1 for yourself, 1 for a loved one for someone who has lost hope about their health. I know many people who go to the doctor and they get their panels done and the blood work and everything looks normal and they still feel like crap. And many times the doctor doesn't even realize, no matter what vocational medical field they're in, it could be functional medicine, it could be MD, they could be chiropractor or naturopathic. The micronutrient focus isn't where it could be, and that's what Caroline is here for. Before we go to the next question, let's do the final survey. I want to see what people say to this multiple choice. We didn't put an all of the above option because we would get 100% that say all of the above. So we don't learn anything from that. But where are you in your journey to mineral health right now? Okay. Let's say you just heard about minerals. Let's say you're reading the Mineral Reset book. Let's say you use Beam Minerals. You're familiar with Beam, and Caroline co-founded that with her co-founder, Dan. You've tried other mineral supplements, but haven't found results. That's possible. And then you're a health professional in the business to business range, and you're exploring more for your clients. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to give one answer. We just want to know where you're coming from. And then, Caroline, I'm going to hit you with a pop question, the difference between humic and fulvic minerals. I just want a 30-second answer on that, but let's close. It could be 3 hours, I know, but let's close
You
the
want the
survey.
30-second answer. Okay.
Yep. Okay, now this is interesting. So Caroline, go ahead and read the results.
Oh, we have 77% of people who are already using B minerals. That's awesome. I am so glad to hear that. And not even because, of course, I think B minerals is one of the best mineral replenishers. And I'm specifically saying replenisher rather than supplement because B minerals is not a supplement. Supplement means just adding stuff into the system, and replenishment means actually using the replenishment of methods of the system to get something into a system. And that's what B minerals does very effectively, which is why people feel a difference. And then we have, I don't know.
No, just they can see the results, but I wanted to point that out. Now, in this version, which we're live, you're probably going to watch it recorded live. Maybe a year from now, that survey will change,
Yeah,
right? Because we'll get people outside
sure.
of Beam Minerals, and many times the book itself is a way to enter the world of Beam Minerals. Behind you, I want you to bring some of the products that you have, so because some are liquid and some are not. So right behind you, you have a mug there too, and you have a spray. So
Yeah.
what are those things? Go ahead and describe those. What are they?
Okay, so you wanted to know the difference between fulvic and humic. So fulvic and humic are plant-based minerals. That's not an oxymoron. That's actually a thing. So not all minerals are made from rocks or bones or shells or salts. And plant-based minerals are basically, they are decomposed freshwater plants. So they're really, really different. And the cool thing is that they actually are Mother Nature's solution to getting minerals into cells. So because this is the humic supplement, it's or tool, I should call it a replenisher anyway. MicroBoost is the humic tool, and it's also they're two different molecules. Um, the main thing you have to understand is that every single cell on Earth requires minerals. So your cells in your body need the same ratio of minerals that the cells in a redwood tree need. Isn't that interesting? Well, it makes sense because we all evolved from the same, single-celled organisms. For cellular life on our planet to thrive, there had to be a way to get minerals from the outside into that cell. And so nature, over millennia, developed a technology for doing so. And it's called humic and fulvic. And it's actually a self-propagating tool because plants grow in the soil and they take the minerals from the soil to both to build their structure and also for the energy to grow. And then they die and they decompose and they put their minerals back into the soil. And they do that in the form of humic and fulvic. And these two molecules, one is about the transportation and delivery of minerals into the cells, that's fulvic, and then humic both supports the uptake of nutrients into the cell as well as provides full system detoxification. So you have a cellular system, you need to get nutrients in and you need to get waste products out. Same as your body, right? And that's what humic and fulvic do. They bring nutrients into your cells and they take the waste products and the toxins out.
And then what about the pill format and then the spray? So that's behind
Yeah.
you as well. Please show those.
Yeah, so the spray is really amazing. I'm telling you, if you are somebody who has menstrual cramps or you get leg cramps at night, these are all signs of mineral deficiency. And actually, if you take minerals internally, you may be able to completely remove those symptoms altogether over time. But in the meantime, when you're dealing with acute symptoms, you just spray it on from the outside. Now, why does that work? It's not like a magnesium spray. It leaves no residue. You know how if you've ever used magnesium sprays, they leave like this sticky, funky stuff on your skin. This will make your skin feel completely smooth and like amazing. You can use this for also your eyes. So the interesting thing about eyes is in a single like cell on a rod or cone in your eye, you could have 40,000 mitochondria. Because think how much processing is happening through your vision constantly, moment by moment. So you can feed those cells by just letting the spray right into your eyes while you blink them. And it's amazing. It doesn't sting, nothing like that. You feel like your eyes are drinking. So this is an amazing tool for getting minerals to any local area on your body.
One thing about that, if I may add, is I utilize it every day, twice a day,
Yeah,
on my face and other parts of my body. And minerals are not sexy because you don't get the instant impact you would like from caffeine and other things you consume. So people don't think about it, but over time, they have a huge impact, as Caroline is revealing. And you'll learn more about it in the book. The spray is instant. It's instant.
yeah,
You feel rejuvenated instantly. I do it in the morning.
amazing.
I do it at the 2 p.m. crash. And I don't know if it's placebo or not, but I feel refreshed after
Yeah.
doing it. And I don't only do it on my face. So that's one thing about the product line is that's the most instant product I've
Yeah,
recognized that you guys
that's
have.
why we call it Insta Lights. I do want to say though, because I just don't want this to turn into an advertisement for Beam Minerals. Of course, Dan and I created Beam Minerals because we wanted to bring these plant-based minerals to the world because they can help people so much. But there are lots of ways you can get humic and fulvic. There's something called Shilajit. It's hard to take and you have to be really careful. The thing I want to alert people to is that in the book, there's a buyer's guide. And this guide is how do I find the minerals that are going to work with my lifestyle, with my body, with my personal interests. So there's lots of different ways you can get minerals into you, and specifically humic and fulvic. So it's not only Beam Minerals. Of course, I think it's the best because I was part of making them, but there are lots of other ways. So we also have a capsule. So the capsule called Electro Boost, it's the original material. So the original material is called humate, and it literally comes from about 10 to 12 feet below the earth. Imagine 65 million years ago, the earth was covered with rainforests all the way up into northern Canada, and a meteor hit the Yucatan. It killed 75% of all life in a few hours. And all of those rainforests died and decomposed. And as they decomposed, guess what they left? Huge deposits of humic and fulvic material. And that's what's in here. So it's incredibly mineral rich, incredibly pure. It's had no contact with modern pollutants. It's a great source of minerals.
Okay, stay with us because I have a very special gift, compliments of Caroline, and that is the mineral quiz that you get from the book. I'm going to give the link here so that if you're still on the fence and you don't know if the book is for you, you can take it before you get the book. If you've already gotten the book, I do encourage you to take that. That's going to come, I would say, in the next 3 minutes, depends on how Caroline handles this next question. Which is, I mean, it's my favorite chapter, chapter 5, where science meets magic, and how minerals impact a very, I think, active part of health and wellness these days, probiotic needs. What is probiotic and healthy digestion? So why don't you dive in that for a bit?
Yeah. Minerals and the gut, there is an absolute nexus of that. And what we've learned about the human gut nowadays, we call it the gut microbiome because it's an incredibly rich, diverse ecosystem of all sorts of microbiota, microflora, microorganisms. And guess what? All of those are freshwater organisms. So the interesting thing is your body is a lot like the earth. So your digestive tract is a freshwater system, much like the rivers and lakes on the earth. Your bloodstream is like the ocean. It's very close to the salinity of the ocean. But your gut is a freshwater system and it likes small changes, incremental changes, again, the way a natural ecosystem would like them. So one of the shifts that I want people to really look at as they're reading the book is think about their gut and all the things that they're putting into their gut in very high concentrations and think, well, how does that really work in a natural ecosystem? Or let's say using salt-based electrolytes. There's quite a section in the book about hydration and helping you to understand how salt-based electrolytes can actually dehydrate you because they create a concentration. Your body has to eliminate a lot of it. And to do that, it actually has to pull water from your system so that you eliminate, then you start urinating, have frequent urination, ultimately cause it, when you use them for a long period of time, it creates inflammation of the lining of your bladder and kidney. And now you're losing more minerals than you're actually uptaking. So if you think about this in a really simple way, your body's like the earth, your gut is like the rivers and lakes. It's a freshwater system. It's a natural ecosystem. It doesn't like concentrations. It will change the way you think about the food you're putting in, the nutrients you're putting in, and how you're doing it. Actually, Alex, you are muted.
Here we go. I'm going to do a rewind. Here we go. So before the final question, mineral reset quiz. Okay, tell us about that. There are different outputs depending on how people fill in the answers. We're going to put the link in right now. Speak to that, Caroline. And it's for people before or after reading the book. But why is it so useful? Because it's customized output.
Yeah, so the cool thing about the quiz that we created is you just answer these sets of questions. And the first thing about it is once you start answering those questions about different symptoms you may have, you kind of get like a little aha moment, like this is mineral deficiency, this is mineral deficiency, sleep, inflammation, depletion you are in. And we're going to give you, based on your symptoms that you identified, we're going to give you some specific blog articles, and I mean, really things that are going to be very relevant and helpful to you. So I hope you'll do that. I think it's a great way to really begin to understand whether you're experiencing mineral deficiency or not. And, I asked a practitioner once, I said, how do you know if a patient comes in and they have mineral deficiency? And they said, oh, they're in my office. So because they recognize that most chronic symptoms are a result of chronic mineral deficiency.
From many. Just they're not
That's
educated, and that's part of the mission I know that you're on. Okay, so you have the quiz link. You have the link to purchase the book directly. One, two, or three copies. I recommend three for the reasons given already. And I really mean that, because the person who's lost hope in their health, they may not get the reports from their docs and their practitioners, but minerals may be the difference for them. In the chat, this is very useful for Caroline and her partner Dan and the rest of beamminerals.com. Type in the biggest aha moment that you've gotten from Caroline. Anything that she has said. If you've read part of the book, give us an aha moment that I'll give you time to write in the chat. This is very Socratic. So by giving more input to us, we know how to improve. Caroline is a teacher and a trainer. In getting the book, you have access to not one, two, three, four, but five different 1 hour segments with 15 minutes of Q&A called the Book in Our series. And it's a series of deep insight in the book, kind of like a reading club that you would have with a book, only from the author's point of view, and it's very unique. So I hope you join us if you purchase the book, and then share that ticket with a friend or family owner. We made it look like a Ticketron ticket, and Caroline was very creative in doing that. So type in your ahas right now. The more specific you can be, the better. And there's one more thing, and there's bundling. So we have bundles of 10, 100, 250. If you're a CEO with a major company, 1,000, and you can get Caroline to come out and speak at no speaker's fee. But if you have any interest in getting a bundle, and assuming you're in a business or you're a practitioner, we're going to drop the link in the chat as well. And there's nowhere to go online, but you can reach out to us and then we'll find the right bundle that's right for you. And the reason for these commercials is because if we don't give them to you, you won't have access to get this product. So it's up to you. No one's making you buy the book. No one's making you go to beamminerals.com and purchase anything there. But if you're making yourself go through the suffering and the sludge of daily life and you don't know what's wrong, it may be worthwhile to take a little bit of wallet share and find out just with the book alone. So if you were, Caroline, final question, you're looking over the shoulder of one of the readers here, and they're flipping through the pages and you say, wait, stop. I want you to stop at that page because you're missing something major. If you had the chance to do that, which would be a gift for any author, where would you stop them and why?
Mhm. Where would I stop them in the book? Yeah. Mhm.
Of this book, where would you say? I know it's a tough question, but I want you to do your best.
Well, one of the things that I think is so important is finding out when or where the whole thing of minerals is, or how, excuse me, how it's relevant to you. And the best way to do that is to look at this section where it's a whole piece that's just about your body. So you get to look up your particular symptoms and see, and read about how minerals and other things could support you. So you can find that in the table of contents, and it's called the Let Minerals Work for You section. And you can go down there. There's, ADHD, adrenal health, anxiety, autoimmune, bone health, and hair loss, Hashimoto's, immune function, menstrual cramps. I mean, on and on. There's a whole bunch of different types of things that I've focused on to give people something that's really relevant to them. So that can be a great place to start. And then you can go back and read different sections. There's also some really interesting a section about heavy metals. There's a lot of misunderstandings about those. If you want to understand about heavy metals and how they might be affecting you, and also how you can, kind of contextualize your understanding of that's a useful section as well.
I think it's a very good answer, and I didn't think of that. That's a great way to get an overall context of the book, and then sometimes you just start what's most meaningful, relevant, and important to you as the reader. So
Yeah.
we're done. Our work is finished. Yours is about to begin, our dear reader and listener. It is on Audible. And Caroline, final words before we say goodbye.
Well, I think the last thing is, we're not doing a Q&A today, but if you want to engage with me personally, I highly recommend you come to the Mineral Reset Program book in our series, because that is where you're going to get an opportunity to engage with me. We can answer your questions directly. And so if you want to get that one-on-one or at least group kind of where you can ask me directly questions, that's a great place to do it.
Okay, great. On behalf of Caroline Allen and her co-founding partner, Dan, and the rest of us at bminerals.com, we hope our paths cross again. We hope you get the book, and then keep us updated on your progress 30, 60, 90 days. And we hope our paths cross again during the Book in Our series. There'll be 5 of them, and there will be Q&A there that's live. So we hope you make it.
Awesome, you guys. Thanks so much for coming. I really want you to know that I really appreciate your interest and support. Thank you.